9-in Prodigy. 1. Li Lingtian's expression changed drastically when he sensed the terrifying icy aura. This aura was the cold aura of the 9-in Prodigy. In the upper world, 9 Yang Divine Lords, 9 Yang Sacred Flame, and 9-in Heaven's favorites, 9-in Mystic Ice, were the same. Moreover, the 9 Suns Sacred Flame had suffered a lot in front of the 9-in Mystic Ice. Now that he saw it again, his heart trembled. Now, he was certain that the 9-in Prodigy had died, or rather, he had reincarnated. Otherwise, how could a mighty figure like 9-in appear in this place? In the past, in the upper realm, they were all super mighty experts who dominated an area. He was just unlucky to be destroyed by the immemorial ice crystal. However, this 9-in Prodigy rarely showed his face. He would never believe that he was as unlucky as him. He was sure that there was some unknown secret behind it. At this moment, all his attention was on Qing Ling. She stood in front of the 9-in Divine Palace as if she was completely unaware of the outside world. Furthermore, Li Lingtian could sense a trace of an unfamiliar aura from Qing Ling. She was gradually different from the Qing Ling of the past. All of this was because of this icy cold energy, which allowed Qing Ling to gradually pull away from him. This feeling made him feel uncomfortable. This was his woman, but he felt a strange feeling from his woman. Naturally, he felt uncomfortable. Swoosh! A devastating cold aura enveloped Qing Ling. Then she disappeared in a strange manner. When she reappeared, she had already entered the 9-in Divine Palace. The frosty air in front of the temple door disappeared as well. Li Lingtian stood up and entered the 9-in temple in a flash. Inside the 9-in Divine Palace, he saw Qing Ling floating in the air with her eyes closed and her face pale. It looked like he was in extreme pain, but Li Lingtian was helpless at the moment. Qing Ling was surrounded by a frosty aura, and with his current cultivation base, he could not contend against the frosty aura. In his previous life, he, the 9 Suns Sacred Flame, was no match for the 9-in Mystic Ice. In this life, his cultivation was too low. If he wanted to fight against the 9-in Mystic Ice, he would undoubtedly be courting death. If it was in his previous life, he would naturally not be afraid of the cold energy of the 9-in Divine Hall. After all, this cold energy was not the 9-in Prodigy himself. Huff huff. In the hall, the sound of the wind continued. The green caltrop floated in the air and spun continuously. The sound of the wind rang out, and together with the sound of the wind, there was a destructive cold aura. Both Li Lingtian and Long De unleashed their powerful defenses to resist the icy aura. However, Qing Ling, who was in the icy cold air, had completely forgotten about everything outside. Boom! At this moment, a muffled sound came from the 9-in Divine Palace. A 5-meter-long and 2-meter-wide pool appeared on the ground of the hall. The pool was dark blue and emitted a destructive cold air. All the cold air was emitted from this pool. The terrifying icy blue pool contained a mysterious blue pool water. However, Li Lingtian had no idea what the pool water was. Moreover, in the center of the pool was a sparkling pearl. This pearl was sparkling and translucent, and there was a mysterious aura on it. On one side of the bead was a fist-sized crystal. The crystal was shaped like countless water chestnuts and was as beautiful as a crystal. However, Li Lingtian's face was filled with shock. Divine Spark! 9-in Mystic Ice Crystal! Li Lingtian cried out in surprise because the smaller pearl was actually a divinity, an ice divinity. This ice-type divinity was identical to the ice-type and fire-type divinity Li Lingtian obtained in the stone chamber in the passageway. However, this divinity was slightly stronger than the one he obtained. The other fist-sized crystal was actually the 9-in Mystic Ice crystal cultivated by the 9-in Prodigy. How could he not be shocked? At first, he had only suspected that 9-in had died and reincarnated. Now that he had seen this godhead and crystal with his own eyes, he was sure that 9-in had died. Swoosh! Just as he was in shock, the divine spark in the pool had already arrived in front of Qing Ling in an instant. Instantly, the divine spark floated above Qing Ling's head. Streams of mysterious aura connected with Qing Ling. Li Lingtian could only watch helplessly. Moreover, it was already too late to stop Qing Ling and the divine spark. With his current cultivation, he didn't have the slightest confidence. He might even destroy Qingling. The divine spark slowly merged with Qingling. After an unknown period of time, the divine spark disappeared, and so did all the cold air. Qingling opened her beautiful eyes. However, her gaze was ice-cold. It was the same as the ice goddess ice sculpture. When she looked at Li Lingtian, her gaze made Li Lingtian tremble. A terrifying chill emanated from her eyes. The unfamiliar gaze was no longer Qingling's familiar gentle gaze. Qingling. Li Lingtian averted his gaze and cast aside his thoughts as he shouted at Qingling. He hoped that everything in front of him was an illusion. However, after he shouted, a destructive pressure exploded from Qingling's body. The pressure blasted Li Lingtian out of the Nine Yin Divine Palace. Without the slightest resistance, Longda was also thrown out, and his eyes revealed a shocked expression. Humph! Qingling glared at Li Lingtian coldly, her eyes filled with arrogance and coldness. Needless to say, the cold snort alone was enough to break Li Lingtian's heart. I didn't expect to meet you again. What a coincidence! At this moment, Qingling was no longer Qingling because her tone and voice were extremely cold. That terrifying strength was impossible to be Qingling's. Nine Yin Heaven's favorite, I didn't think that you would have such a day. If you have the ability, then don't take over Qingling's body. Get the hell out here. Li Lingtian stood up and wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth. His eyes were equally cold. However, in the other eye, it was indeed a world of flames. On one side was flames, and on the other side was ice. This was the power of the fusion of ice and fire. He looked at Nine Yin's prodigy. At this moment, he was sure that Qingling had been possessed. Killing intent surged in his heart, and his heart ached. He had already decided that today, either Nine Yin's prodigy would vanish into thin air, or he would die. I didn't expect you to treat her so well. The mighty Nine Yang Saint Lord is actually so sentimental. You've reincarnated, but in front of me, you're even inferior to an ant. Nine Yin said calmly. Even though his voice was calm, it was extremely cold. There was no hint of human qi in it, as if it came from the Nine Nether Underworld. Nine Yin chosen, you're only SS. In the upper realm, we didn't have a clear winner. But today, you've just possessed someone. No matter how strong you are, you can't break the laws of the divine martial continent. Today, either you die or I die. Li Lingtian's face was filled with killing intent as he circulated his true essence to the maximum. With a flick of his divine consciousness, the ice and fire exotic beast, silver-winged flying dragon, Little White and the rest appeared beside Li Lingtian. Immediately, Li Lingtian and the others formed a formation in front of the temple square. Although Tang Qingyue and the others did not know what was going on, they could roughly understand what was going on when they saw Li Lingtian's expression and the way he looked at Qingling. Without saying a word, they circulated their most terrifying true essence to the maximum, ready to cooperate with Li Lingtian to defeat the person before them. Then let's see what you're capable of. Show me your greatest ability. Otherwise, it will be too late for you to regret. A strange light flashed in the eyes of the Nine Yin Heaven's favorite. Immediately, the icy cold energy in his entire body circulated. In the space, the entire sky was frozen. Even the space in front of Li Lingtian and the others was frozen. The icy aura carried a tearing force as it continued to tear Li Lingtian and the others apart. Nine Suns Sacred Flame. Limitless Holy Flame. Fire Dragon's Heart. Earth Core White Flame. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the terrifying aura. He did not expect that after the possession of the Nine Yin prodigy, he would still have such a terrifying aura. This aura had never been seen in the divine martial continent. Even when he met the Nine Yin prodigy in the upper world, this aura was not so powerful. This made him feel a deep fear. Even he, who was in the upper realm, was not a match for Nine Yin's prodigy. Now, he had even less confidence. Could it be that the Nine Yin prodigy had hidden his strength in the upper realm? The thought rose in Li Lingtian's mind, but he did not have the chance to ponder on it at the moment. The true essence in his entire body circulated to the extreme, displaying 4 kinds of destructive flames. Crash! With a crisp sound, the icy air in the space was blocked. Tang Qingyue and the others also regained their freedom from the ice. However, there were traces of blood at the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. Despite the fact that he had unleashed 4 types of flames, he had refined them and had mastered them to the extent of perfection. However, using 4 types of flames at once was still beyond his endurance. Moreover, he did not dare to be careless when he encountered such a terrifying expert. He had to go all out. If he had met other martial saints, he would not have done so. 5 Elements Reincarnation. The 9 heavenly stars. Tang Qingyue and the others no longer hesitated. However, when they looked at the prodigy of 9 yin, they revealed a trace of pain. This was because this person was Qing Ling. Even if she had been possessed, she was still their sister. Now, they wanted to destroy her. This situation was really difficult for them to accept. However, at this moment, he understood that the bigger picture was more important. He hoped that he could defeat the 9 in Heaven's favorite and help Qing Ling regain her consciousness. At the same time, the doctor shouted and used the 5 elements reincarnation. Li Lingtian did not say much as he unleashed the 9 heavenly stars. Although he still had many heaven-defying methods, he did not dare to use them now. He had to join forces with Tang Qingyue and the others to have a little bit of confidence. Divine Might Swoosh. In the air, Tang Qingyue's group of 5 flashed and formed a 5 elements reincarnation formation. Li Lingtian was also suspended in the air. Originally, the 5 elements reincarnation belonged to Qingling, Tang Qingyue and the others. However, Qingling was possessed by the 9 in heavenly talent, so Xianyuan Yingying could only take her place. 5 elements reincarnation. The 9 heavenly stars. This is not your previous cultivation technique. 9 Yin's paragon was shocked when he saw the array formation cast by Tang Qingyue and the others, as well as Li Lingtian's 5 elements Dao intent. She possessed Qingling and was unaware of her memories. Naturally, she was unaware that Li Lingtian's cultivation had changed. She thought that Li Lingtian's cultivation technique was the 9 suns sacred flame from her previous life. However, looking at it now, he was instantly incomparably shocked. Such a move and divine ability was beyond her imagination. She was not confident in her ability to do so. After all, her understanding of Li Lingtian was limited to her past life. In this life, Li Lingtian cultivated the canon and divine powers. Compared to his previous life, it was countless times stronger. The two were on a completely different level. Do you think I will be limited to my previous life? Try my 9 heaven stars and see how much of your cultivation base you still have. Li Lingtian unleashed the 5 elements will. The 5 elements sacred body supported the 5 elements will, and the terrifying will wreaked havoc in the air. The 99 5-colored spiritual pearls were also unleashed, instantly forming an independent world. Tang Qingyue and the others also circulated the 5 elements reincarnation. The 5 elements reincarnation fused with the 9 stars in the sky, and its power was heaven-defying. This was something they had researched in the Imperial Palace. The power of the 5 elements reincarnation was no different from before, but Li Lingtian had added the 9 heavens stars to the original array formation. This way, the power of the 9 heavens star and the 5 elements reincarnation would increase by several times. 9 in heaven scroll, icebound butterfly language. 9 Yin's paragon's expression turned grave as he watched Li Lingtian and the others unleash their moves and divine abilities. His eyes shifted and the true essence in his body became even more berserk and cold. A pair of jade-like hands continuously flew about. Instantly, the world seemed to be about to be destroyed. Boundless cold air rushed down from the sky, and his hair fluttered. Beams of destructive cold air surged out. In the blink of an eye, the world emitted a supreme might. In front of this might, the ground trembled. This was supreme divine might. The 9 in prodigy was originally an almighty powerhouse from the upper world and possessed terrifying divine might. Divine might. A simple divine might could directly destroy a martial artist until they vanished into thin air. This was the advantage of mighty figures in front of martial artists. The strong had an overwhelming blow in front of the weak. As long as they were dignified, it would be enough. When a martial saint faced a martial emperor, he could directly suppress him with his pressure. Martial emperors could not get close to a martial saint at all. The 9 prodigy had already died, but after possessing the body, he still carried a trace of divine might. Just this bit of divine might could directly kill any martial artist. Li Lingtian and the others were shocked when they sensed the divine might. He was a reincarnation, and his soul had split into 3. His divine might had long disappeared, and he no longer had the divine might of the 9 prodigy. Now, he could only rely on the powerful methods of this life to fight against the 9 prodigy. He hoped that he could kill 9 and save Qing Ling Russell in the air, the fusion of the 9 heaven stars and the 5 elements reincarnation, as well as the power of the 9 heaven scroll, constantly rubbed against each other. For a moment, the space emitted a rustling sound. In an instant, endless divine might fiercely bombarded the 9 stars in the sky. An invisible attack and divine might directly bombarded the 9 stars in the sky. Immediately, the outside of the divine hall began to tremble. Blood trickled down the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth as he stared at 9 prodigy in horror. He did not expect this 9 prodigy to be so terrifying. He had thought that this 9 prodigy was no stronger than a 9th heavenly layer martial saint. However, it seemed that even a 9th heavenly layer martial saint would be instantly killed by this attack. The stars in the 9 skies vanished into thin air. Li Lingtian fell to the ground along with Tang Qingyue and the others. Their faces were deathly pale. Blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth, and she looked extremely miserable. Deng 9 also took a few steps back. The coldness in his eyes became even stronger, and he was also extremely shocked. She did not expect Li Lingtian to be so powerful. He was only at the martial emperor stage, yet he was already able to contend with her true immortal stage. Even if her true god realm only had a trace of divine might, it was simply an instant kill against martial artists. Now, not only had he failed to kill Li Lingtian, he had even knocked him back. If Li Lingtian were to reach his previous cultivation state, no one would be his match. At that thought, he was even more shocked. 5 elements sacred body. Li Lingtian activated his cultivation technique, and his body flashed as he activated the 5 elements will again. At the same time, Shenyuan Yinging also circulated the 5 elements sacred body. The two of them looked at each other, and the terrifying 5 elements will wreaked havoc in the air. For a moment, the aura between heaven and earth became strange. 5 elements sacred body? 5 elements sacred body. How is it possible for you to achieve the 5 elements sacred body? Ben Gong understands, completely understands. Looking at Li Lingtian's 5 elements sacred body, he seemed to have understood something. 9 said loudly. His eyes became confused, but this confusion disappeared in an instant. The genuine vitality in his body disappeared quickly. In the end, his realm stabilized at the 2nd heaven of the martial emperor realm. Li Lingtian was puzzled and shocked by this. She immediately understood that the 9 prodigy was also at the end of her powerful attack. After that one attack, she had used up the last trace of her divine might and had no chance to attack again. I see. Li Lingtian withdrew his 5 elements Dao will as he watched the 9 prodigy's transformation. He then looked at the 9 prodigy seriously. Now, the 9 prodigy did not have the strength to make a move at all. If he couldn't take them down in the first attack, 9 prodigy would have wiped them out. However, when he took them, 9 prodigy didn't have the strength to attack. There are a total of 9 upper world powerhouses in the Divine Martial Hall. Just like me, they all died here. However, only one person can leave the Divine Martial Hall alive in the end. The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. I don't want to say too much. She's the same as you. She's Ben Gong's reincarnation. You're lucky. 9 paragon ignored Li Lingtian's words and muttered to himself. As he finished his sentence, the entire temple's icy cold aura entered his body. At the same time, there was confusion in her eyes. Li Lingtian was extremely familiar with this gaze. It was Qing Ling's gaze. Qing Ling. Li Lingtian called out tentatively because the gaze belonged to Qing Ling and the aura of the Nine Yin's prodigy had disappeared. It didn't disappear, but it quickly weakened and fused with Qing Ling. The atmosphere in the air also quickly regained its calm. This situation made Long Da and the others extremely surprised. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. It was supposed to be a life and death battle, but the ending was beyond his imagination and expectations. "Young master, what's wrong?" Qing Ling asked as she looked at Li Lingtian and Tang Qingyue in confusion. She asked with concern when she saw the blood stains on the corners of Li Lingtian's and Tang Qingyue's lips. She wondered what had just happened. "Sister Qingling, you really don't know what just happened?" Huang Fian looked at Qingling and asked seriously. This was a matter that concerned their lives. There could not be the slightest mistake. "Sister Yin, I didn't know anything just now." When Qingling saw Huang Fu Yuyan asking her, she felt that there was something she didn't know and it might be related to her. He was even more confused. At this moment, countless pieces of information appeared in his mind. Although the information was incomplete, he had a rough idea. Li Lingtian and the others did not say anything as they watched Qingling's change. "How is it? Do you remember anything?" After a while, Qingling opened her eyes and Xianyuan Yingying asked. At this moment, they all looked at Qingling curiously. "Young master, I understand. Just now, my consciousness was controlled. Moreover, the one controlling my consciousness was the one who summoned me. It was also my original body from my previous life." Qingling looked at Li Lingtian and the others and roughly understood what had just happened. She revealed a guilty expression. They had almost killed Li Lingtian and the others earlier. At the same time, she understood a lot of things in her mind. The feeling that summoned her was her previous life and also her original body. There were many things that she could not sort out at the moment. "I see. You were originally the same person, and she didn't possess you." Li Lingtian recalled the last words of Nine Yin's prodigy and immediately understood something. The Nine Yin Heaven's favorite had given him an advantage. In other words, the Nine Yin Heaven's favorite was Qing Ling, and Qing Ling was the Nine Yin Heaven's favorite. The two of them were originally the same person, but they had a true body and a reincarnation. "Young master, are you all right?" Qing Ling came to Li Lingtian's side and asked with concern. She looked at Tang Qingyue and the others with a guilty expression. "I'm fine." Li Lingtian smiled. It was fortunate that Qing Ling was fine. Their injuries were nothing. "Sister Qingling, this matter has nothing to do with you." "That's right. I attacked you just now because I wanted to kill your previous life and save you. I didn't expect you to be the same person. I didn't expect you to be so powerful in your previous life that even Big Brother Ling Tian was afraid of you. Congratulations to Sister Qingling for reaching the Martial Emperor realm. Qingling has already reached the Martial Emperor realm. I'm so envious." For a moment, Tang Qingyue and the others comforted Qingling. This matter had nothing to do with her. They were good sisters, so they naturally couldn't let Qingling have a shadow in her heart. "Although my realm has increased, there are still many things I don't know. I need to slowly accept and organize them." Qingling revealed a gentle smile. She was extremely touched by these sisters. She had just reached the Martial Emperor realm and had yet to sort out the memories of the Nine Yin's prodigy. Only by completely accepting these memories could he return to normal. "A shocking secret, then well, stay here for now." Li Lingtian nodded with a concerned look on his face. He then turned to Huang Fu Yuyan and the others. They were all injured. The Divine Martial Hall was very powerful. If they did not recover from their injuries, they would be in trouble when they encountered even stronger experts. From the last few words of the Nine Yin prodigy, he could tell that the Divine Martial Hall was hiding a powerful secret. This secret might have something to do with him. Perhaps the immemorial ice crystal back then was not an accident, but a thought. He had to figure out these things, but the Nine Yin prodigy was gone. He would only know after Quzhenji Ling fused her memories. Now he had to heal his hands. "Okay, then let's go in first." Quzhenji Ling nodded and led Li Lingtian and the others into the Nine Yin Divine Palace. She was walking at the front because she was worried that there might be some danger threatening Li Lingtian and the others. She was a native of this place after all, so she would not be in any danger. Li Lingtian and the rest sized up the shrine once they entered it. The entire temple was not big, but there were more than 10 rooms. It was empty inside. Li Lingtian could not understand why there was a palace here since a powerhouse from the upper realm had fallen here. Could it be that it was imprisoned here? He thought about it for a long time, but he could not find any clues. He could only quietly cultivate. The mysterious aura in this temple was extremely dense. He now understood that this mysterious aura was the divine aura of an almighty expert. His memory was incomplete, so he naturally did not know what this aura was. Similarly, he had such an aura in the past, but he had just forgotten about it. Otherwise, this aura would not have any effect on him at all because he was the reincarnation of an upper realm expert. The flaming sacred body was from the upper realm, so it naturally had no effect on this aura. After settling down, Li Lingtian allowed Tang Zhenji and the rest to cultivate together so that they could take care of each other. He was cultivating because he was the only one who could cultivate this aura. It absorbed the powerful and dense divine qi to strengthen its true essence. Although he could not refine and absorb all of the divine qi, Li Lingtian stored them in the divine dragon ring so that he could slowly cultivate in the future. After 5 days, he finally absorbed all the aura in the 9-Yin divine palace. Even the aura from other places was also absorbed. At this time, there was no longer any aura here. There was no spiritual energy at all. However, Tang Qingyue and the others had already recovered from their injuries. Jingling also gradually merged her memories. Although it was incomplete, she still understood a lot of things. More importantly, her cultivation base was at the second heaven of Martial Emperor realm now. She had some control over the cultivation techniques and divine abilities of the 9-Yin prodigy. She could completely execute them. The only problem was that Qingling's cultivation wasn't enough to support those heaven-defying and powerful abilities. However, she could cultivate the 9-Yin heaven scroll. The powerful divine power was not something she could display with her current cultivation. There are a total of 9 super mighty figures who died in this divine martial hall. However, we don't know why they came here. They didn't sense anything. They only know that there are 8 other super experts here besides me. Moreover, only one person can leave safely. The others will either get the inheritance or be destroyed. However, the 9 upper realm experts can never leave. They can only let their inheritances leave this place, but only one of them must leave this place. After Qin Ling recalled her memories, she told him some things about the divine martial hall. She didn't know how much because her memory was incomplete. Even if his memory was intact, he would not know all the secrets. This was because even the 9-Yin prodigies did not know what secrets were hidden here. Naturally, Qin Ling didn't know the secret here. The only thing he knew was that if he wanted to leave this place, he had to pass through the divine martial hall. Those who could survive had the inheritance of the mighty people of the upper realm. However, if he wanted to leave this place, there was only one person. Li Lingtian and the others listened to Qin Ling's words. The expression on their faces also changed. The mystery of this place had already exceeded their imagination and expectations. This was a shocking conspiracy and secret, a terrifying secret. Li Lingtian's expression was grave. He had reincarnated because of the immemorial ice crystal. Although he was not imprisoned in the divine martial hall, his days were not good either. Since he was trapped on Hidden Dragon Island, he would have vanished into thin air if Li Lingtian had not gone there. Fortunately, the 3 scattered souls had finally fused together, resulting in his current strength. However, the other 9 upper realm super martial arts masters were not so lucky. They were directly imprisoned in the divine martial hall. Among these experts, there was a prodigy of 9-Yin. It seemed that the experts in the divine martial hall were stronger than him in his previous life. He did not know why so many experts were imprisoned. Now, the inheritance and reincarnation of the 9-Yin prodigy had already appeared. It was Qin Ling. He wondered what the other experts were like. Moreover, if these inheritances were not passed down, they would disappear in a certain period of time. Even if they obtained the inheritance, only one person could go out. Li Lingtian felt confused, but at the same time, he felt a sense of clarity. The Divine Martial Hall would open once every 3,000 years. In other words, during these 3,000 years, someone would become extremely powerful after obtaining the inheritance. In these 3,000 years, it was impossible for the Divine Martial Continent to have another inheritor. This inheritor should be here to complete something. If two inheritors appeared together, only one of them could leave this place. This was a terrifying chess game. The 9 super experts had to be reincarnated or passed down to the next generation so that they could rise up in the Divine Martial Continent. However, Li Lingtian was confused as to what kind of powerful conspiracy this was. After thinking for a long time, Li Lingtian felt conflicted. He then calmed down and put everything aside. This was because he could be considered one of the inheritors. It was just that he did not follow these people. Now, there were some things that couldn't be done in a dead end. They had to take it one step at a time. After Li Lingtian recovered, he began to search the temple but found nothing. Finally, his gaze fell on the 9 mystic ice crystal in the pool. From the beginning to the end, they didn't touch the 9 mystic ice crystal, because in such a place, if they moved carelessly, they might attract a destructive blow. Kjingling, try to keep the 9 mystic ice crystal. Li Lingtian said to Qujingling as his gaze shifted from the ice crystal to Qujingling. At the same time, he circulated all of his true essence to protect Qujingling. If this ice crystal hurt her, he would act immediately. Yes. Sister Blue Moon, please move aside. Qujingling nodded and said to Tang Genji and the others. This 9 mystic ice crystal was extremely terrifying. Even Tang Genji and the others couldn't withstand the power of the 9 mystic ice crystal. Tang Genji and the others nodded and retreated. Then, they unleashed their powerful defenses. Swoosh! Qujingling waved her hand and circulated the 9 scripture before grabbing the 9 mystic ice crystal. The 9 mysterious ice crystal easily landed in Qujingiling's hand. The icy aura in the air didn't fluctuate at all. Li Lingtian and the others were puzzled by this situation. He didn't expect this 9 mysterious ice crystal to be so obedient in front of Qujingling and not resist at all. However, what shocked them was that the moment they took out the 9 mystic ice crystal, the entire divine hall trembled. Boo! Boo! Rumble! The hall trembled rapidly as if it was about to be destroyed. Moreover, a huge array altar appeared in the center of the hall. Light shone from the array altar. The array had already been activated. Seeing all this, they were incomparably shocked. Hurry up and enter the Divine Dragon Ring. Li Lingtian shouted at Qujingling and the others. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he waved his hand in the air. Tang Genji and the others entered the Divine Dragon Ring. At the same time, Li Lingtian took out a magical gourd and cast a spell with one hand. Instantly, the sparkling blue water in the pool was sucked in by the gourd. In an instant, all the water in the pool was absorbed. Once he was done, Li Lingtian's figure flashed and he quickly entered the array altar. By the time he went up, the array altar's light had already weakened. Fortunately, Li Lingtian stepped forward at the last moment. A dazzling light flashed and Li Lingtian felt his vision blur before he fell to the ground. The 9 Divine Palace was being destroyed. Boom! Boom! Don't even think about this divine black heavenly sword. Do you think that this divine martial black heavenly sword can be yours? Only one person can leave this place. Otherwise, they will all die here. In the Divine Martial Hall, there was a vast and powerful palace. This palace was 10,000 meters in radius. It would be more appropriate to call it a square than a palace. This was because there was no cover above this palace. There was only the aura of destruction, and it was surrounded by mysterious and terrifying cliffs. Inside the hall, everything was made of mysterious and ancient materials. The chairs and tables were all made of mysterious materials and could not be destroyed at all. In the palace, a terrifying aura of destruction continued to wreak havoc. However, in the center of the palace, there was a domineering long sword floating. The hilt of the sword was engraved with mysterious runes. The sword was 3 feet long and gave off a destructive aura. The sword was constantly emitting a destructive aura. This was the true king's sword, the divine martial profound heaven sword. The divine martial profound heaven sword was a treasure with a profound heaven. It was at least a supreme treasure from the ancient times, and it was an existence that was similar to a king. This divine martial profound heaven sword was the strongest king's sword among the profound heaven treasures. The divine martial black heavenly sword slowly rotated, and the destructive aura on it continuously emitted. The destructive aura in the air was emitted from the divine martial black heavenly sword. Destruction at this moment, the sound of explosions continuously sounded in the hall. The 6 super experts surrounded the divine martial black heavenly sword, but none of them took it because anyone who approached it would be attacked by the other experts. The 6 powerhouses were actually existences at the peak of the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. Shimen Wushuang, if you want this divine martial black heavenly sword, it will depend on your ability. If you have the ability, take it away. Ling Haotian said loudly. They were both at the peak of the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm and had also obtained the inheritance. Now, their cultivation had reached an extreme. As long as they left this place, there was a possibility that another heaven-defying super expert would appear on the divine martial continent, an expert who could sweep across the world. However, he understood that the 5 people on the other side should also be super experts who had obtained the inheritance. Otherwise, they would not have come here. He did not dare to be the first to act against an equally powerful existence. Ling Haotian, stop playing tricks in front of me. This divine martial black heavenly sword is the key to opening the last exit of the divine martial hall. If we continue to waste time here, we will all die here. Shimen Wushuang looked at Ling Haotian and said coldly. He was also at the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. To be able to achieve such a cultivation, it could be seen that he was not just an ordinary person. He was a heaven-defying monster. The 2 of you, stop bickering. Only one person can leave this place. This is our misfortune. If only one person came here, we would naturally be able to leave safely. However, now that the 6 of us are here at the same time, everyone knows what is going on. Therefore, we can only fight until the last one takes the divine martial black heavenly sword and leaves the divine martial hall. Tian Qingzi looked at everyone and said indifferently, it was impossible to play any tricks in this place. Those who could reach the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm and obtain the heaven-defying inheritance were all heaven-defying people. Every one of them was a peerless genius. It was impossible for them to play any tricks. The only thing they could do was to follow the rules. The last one to stay would take out the divine martial black heavenly sword and leave the divine martial hall. Tian Qingzi, your words are not without reason. However, if there are still people coming in from behind and both of us are injured, wouldn't it benefit the others? Zhou Mingho looked at Tian Qingzi with a disdainful smile. There were countless super experts who had entered. Naturally, it was impossible for there to be only the 6 of them. Although there were only 9 opportunities for inheritance, only 6 had appeared so far. There were still 3 left. Even if the 3 inheritances failed, they didn't dare to be careless. After all, there was always a chance. They were all 9th heavenly layer martial saints and had obtained the inheritance. Their cultivation and strength were similar. If they fought, both sides would suffer. Needless to say, after both sides suffered heavy losses, only the people who entered later would benefit. Hee, do you really think that this inheritance is so easy to inherit? There are so many of us here, but only the 6 of us survived. How much hope do the other 3 inheritances have? Yun Ao Tian chuckled. The smile on his face was extremely sinister. Why don't we wait for 3 days? If someone comes over within 3 days, we'll join forces to kill them. If no one comes in 3 days, we'll have to rely on our own abilities. Those who can survive will be able to leave. Sima Qing looked at the other 5 opponents who were all talking glibly, and his heart kept spinning rapidly, trying to find a way to leave this place. No matter who came here, as long as 6 people attacked at the same time, they would attack at the same time and kill him in an instant. At the same time, as long as someone attacked, they would be killed by the others. In this way, 2 people were killed at once. Brother Sima is right. 3 days is not too much, but not too little. If you can really accept the inheritance, this period of time is enough. If you fail, you can never come here again. At that time, we will kill him together. At least we will have one less opponent. No matter who survives, we will have no regrets. This is all luck. Every single one of us is a heaven-defying existence, yet we have to face such a test. Zhou Minghao nodded his head, expressing his agreement with Sima Qing. At the same time, the other super experts nodded their heads and came to an agreement, expressing their agreement with Sima Qing. 3 days was enough. If he didn't arrive within 3 days, he wouldn't have received the inheritance. In 3 days' time, those who had obtained the inheritance would have already arrived. Since they had arrived here, they would be killed by their combined forces. After that, the 6 of them sat in meditation and surrounded the divine martial black heavenly sword to quickly heal their injuries. Under such circumstances, a little more true essence and spirit could become the final winner. Moreover, in the face of such a situation, he still had to consider his plans. In an instant, the 6 super experts transmitted their voices to each other, forming several camps in the middle. However, what they did not expect was that just as they were meditating and resting, the space in the hall trembled. Boom! With a loud explosion, a ray of light appeared. The intense and dazzling light woke up the 6 super experts. Swish! The 6 super martial saints stood up at the same time. The genuine vitality in their bodies had already been circulated to the limit. Their eyes were cold as they looked at the light. The light continued to spin without stopping. That light was like a whirlwind, spinning in the air. Moreover, the 6 experts could see clearly that this light came from the ground of the hall. It came from the ground of the hall. In the light, there was a faint aura. The 6 of them nodded because they understood that there were experts in this light. It was the expert who had received the inheritance and came here. They looked at each other. As long as this light disappeared, that expert would appear and destroy the other party immediately. Huff huff huff, boom boom boom. The sound of wind and space being torn apart could be heard. In the hall, the divine martial profound heavenly sword was also spinning rapidly. The destructive aura on the divine martial profound heavenly sword continuously weakened the light. With a crashing sound, the light disappeared and a young man appeared on the ground. The young man was dressed in white and looked extremely elegant. However, after this young man appeared, his eyes revealed a look of fear and despair. That was because in his line of sight, 6 devastating attacks were bombarding him. Each of the 6 attacks could destroy him countless times, let alone the joint attack of 6 super experts. He was not prepared at all and could only watch the 6 attacks. By the time he noticed the attack, it had already arrived in front of him. A blood-curdling scream rang out. Instantly, his entire body turned into a bloody light, and within the bloody light, energy flew in all directions. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared completely from the hall. The air was filled with the smell of blood. However, there was also a faint will of the great path drifting in this smell of blood. As soon as he came out, he was ambushed by 6 super experts and instantly disappeared. Boom! At the same time that the white-robed youth died, Shimen Wushuang's destructive attack landed on Ling Haoyan's body. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Borrowing the power of this attack, he quickly fell to the edge of the hall. His figure flashed, and 5 super experts attacked Shimen Wushuang with destructive attacks. Unparalleled heaven's favorite, Shimen Wushuang quickly retreated. His expression became extremely cold, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Just as he was about to fall, the destructive attack of martial arts had already arrived in front of him. His eyes were ruthless as he shouted loudly. Instantly, the world shook, and space seemed to be torn apart. A pitch-black hole appeared in front of him. He entered the black hole. At the same time, 2 tall monsters appeared in the black hole. Boom! Rumble! The destructive attack was blocked by the 2 powerful monsters. Shimen Wushuang was hidden in the black hole. The black hole did not dissipate for a long time. The 5 super experts could not do anything. There were 2 monsters in front of Shimen Wushuang. They were 2 monsters that were 10 meters tall. It was unknown whether they were demonic beasts or sea beasts, or whether they were demonic beasts or humans. However, this monster was emitting a destructive aura. Shoo. The 5 super experts looked at Shimin Wushuang in the black hole and the 2 powerful monsters in front of him. They all let out a breath of cold air. He did not expect Shimin Wushuang to have such a life-saving method. At the same time, they were shocked to see the blood curtain in the air and the faint smell of blood. When they attacked, they had already discovered the cultivation and age of the white-robed young man. He was a young man in white who was 23 or 24 years old, but he had reached the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. A 9th level Martial Monarch realm cultivation base was like an ant in front of them. However, this ant was only in his 20s. It was absolutely heaven-defying to have his cultivation base reach such a level at this age. Even if they were known as monsters, they were nothing compared to this white-robed young man. Fortunately, they had killed this young man. If they had not killed him, he would have been even more terrifying after he had obtained the inheritance. They believed that the divine martial continent would have been turned upside down. The white-robed young man who was killed was naturally Li Lingtian, who had teleported from the 9 Divine Palace. Although he knew that there were still 9 heaven-defying inheritors, he also thought that these inheritors might have entered the divine martial hall. However, he had never expected that these heirs would actually discuss attacking the person who had appeared together. Instead, he became the one who was attacked together. Although he had some ideas and preparations, under the joint attack of the heaven-defying 9th heavenly layer martial saints, no matter how heaven-defying he would still be defeated. Chapter 7:16, Terrifying Monster 1. The smell of blood gradually disappeared. In the air, the faint will also disappeared. The few supreme experts had already forgotten about that white-robed young man. No matter how heaven-defying he was no longer a genius after being killed. This white-robed young man was just a dazzling meteor. The 5 super experts had all turned their attention to Shimin Wushuang. Shimin Wushuang looked at Ling Haoyan with a sharp gaze. They had agreed to work together when they had transmitted their voices earlier. At least, they would not be isolated if they worked together. He had never thought that the first to attack him would be his ally. Ling Haoyan, despicable. Shimin Wushuang's face revealed a vicious expression. Although anything could happen under such circumstances, he still couldn't help but curse. When he said this, the others immediately understood what was going on. Can you say that it's despicable in this place? Everyone, let's do it. We've already killed one inheritor. Now that we've joined forces to kill Shimin Wushuang, maybe 2 more people will appear. Ling Haoyan's expression was natural, and he didn't take it seriously at all. Moreover, he even incited a few other super experts to join forces to kill Shimin Wushuang. At this time, he knew that Shimin Wushuang hated him to the bone. He had to kill Shimin Wushuang. Otherwise, he would have to waste his time. Roar, roar. The 2 monsters roared. The originally 10-meter-tall monster instantly doubled in size, and its entire body was filled with blood red. A terrifying aura of destruction erupted. Shimin Wushuang kept waving a small flag with both hands and kept muttering something. In an instant, the auras of the 2 terrifying monsters reached a terrifying level. The peak of the 8th rank and 9th rank, the Great Circle. Pseudo-rank 9? A pseudo-rank 9 existence? What a terrifying aura. Do it or we will be killed. The few 9th firmament martial saints were shocked when they saw the strength of the 2 monsters. Rank 8 and rank 9 were not considered terrifying. They were all 9th heavenly layer martial saints. Even if they fought alone, they had a chance of defeating this monster. Now that he had 5 super existences on his side, he could completely take care of 2 level 8 and level 9. However, when he saw that the monster's cultivation had reached pseudo-tier 9, he immediately became afraid. Pseudo-tier 9 was the super realm of tier 8. Half of the realm had already entered tier 9. Entering tier 9, what kind of concept was, one did not need to say it to understand. That was the existence of the martial god realm. The martial god realm was a legendary realm. In the divine martial continent, there were 10,000 9th heavenly layer martial saints who had a slim chance of becoming a martial god. A martial god could kill thousands of martial saints with a wave of his hand. The war god was powerful because he had already come into contact with the natural laws of the world. With the power to control the great Tao of heaven and earth and destroy the world, a martial saint expert was not even comparable to an ant in front of a martial god. Although these two monsters were not Tier 9, they had already reached pseudo-Tier 9. They were countless times stronger than Tier 8 and Level 9. Boom! One monster guarded Shimin Wushuang while the other monster swung its huge claws down. The claws did not have any tricks. They had already reached the point of returning to their original state, turning the rotten into the magical. The space was torn apart, and the destructive power bombarded Ling Haoyan and the others. It seemed like this attack was aimed at one person, but in front of this attack, the 5 super experts felt the same, and their expressions kept changing. The destructive aura almost directly imprisoned the 5 of them. His speed was restricted. In front of a pseudo-Tier 9 monster, this bit of speed and time was enough to destroy any powerhouse. Boom! With a scream, Ling Haoyan was thrown into the air. A mouthful of blood sprayed in the air, and his body drew a perfect arc rumble. Rumble! Destructive attacks landed on Ling Haoyan's body. However, at this moment, Sima Qing and the others launched their destructive attacks at the monster. Roar! Bang! The ground trembled as the monster was smashed to the ground by the 4 destructive attacks. Its terrifying defense and 4 destructive attacks were unable to destroy it. However, the combined attack of the 4 super experts had weakened the monster's aura by quite a bit, and its power did not start to grow stronger. At the same time, Shimin Wushuang's face turned pale. Obviously, this monster was related to Shimin Wushuang. If the monster was injured, Shimin Wushuang would also be injured. Bang! Ling Haoyan fell to the ground and spat out another mouthful of blood. He had no strength left in his body. He was half dead from the monster's attack. His eyes were filled with fear. He quickly moved to a corner and trembled as he looked at the 2 terrifying monsters. Die! Sima Qing, Zhou Haoming, and the other 3 did not hesitate at all when they saw Ling Haoyan's appearance. They sent a destructive attack towards Ling Haoyan. Damn it! Ling Haoyan was furious when he saw that the 4 of them still wanted to kill him. Immediately, the true essence in his entire body circulated, and his entire aura became even more terrifying. He did not seem to be injured at all. Under the terrifying aura, an exquisite pagoda appeared in Ling Haoyan's hand. The pagoda emitted waves of light, which instantly enveloped him. The moment the halo appeared, 4 powerful attacks had already bombarded Ling Haoyan. Tisk! There was no earth-shattering explosion, no destruction, only the faint sound of a doctor. 4 attacks landed on the halo and were blocked by it. The halo only trembled slightly. At the same time, the destructive halo continued to devour the true essence and power of the 4 attacks. Exquisite pagoda! Sima Qing and the others looked at the pagoda in Ling Haoyan's hands and the mysterious power it was unleashing. They immediately cried out in surprise. Roar! They didn't expect Ling Haoyan to be so powerful after being attacked by the monster. If they really thought that Ling Haoyan was injured and couldn't fight back, they would fall into Ling Haoyan's trap. Now, he was even more afraid of Ling Haoyan. Sinister, cunning, and powerful. Just as the few of them were in shock, the terrifying monster roared and a destructive attack bombarded Zhou Minghe. With a scream, Zhou Minghe was thrown out. A claw appeared on Zhou Minghe's chest. The claw was connected to the monster. At this moment, the monster's claw was 100 meters long. The claw twisted Zhou Minghe's chest and pulled his heart out. At the same time, the other claw was already on Zhou Minghe's head. Blood flowed out of his head, and his eyes turned ashen. Boom! Zhou Minghe was completely dead. He fell to the ground, his eyes filled with unwillingness. When Zhou Minghe died, the exquisite thug in Ling Haoyan's hand burst out with a halo, repelling several attacks. Ling Haoyan's expression was unfocused, and all the strength in his body was completely exhausted. Roar! Rumble! At this moment, the monster roared, Zhou Minghe died, and Ling Haoyan no longer had any fighting strength. However, the monster was not injured at all. They had not expected this outcome. Sima Qing, Tian Qingzi, and Yun Ao Tian gave up on Ling Haoyan and charged towards the monster. If they attacked Ling Haoyan again, the monsters would kill them. Moreover, Ling Haoyan didn't have any strength left. He didn't have the ability to fight anymore. Under the eyes of the 3 super martial saints, he had nowhere to hide. Sky Dance Slash. Ling Shuang, Ride the Sword. Heaven Exterminating God Finger. The 3 of them looked at each other and no longer hid anything. They bombarded the monster with 3 destructive attacks. Roar. The huge claws also attacked the 3 of them. The pair of bloody claws still had the aura of blood. In an instant, the claws arrived in front of the 3 of them and bombarded Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi fiercely. However, at this moment, 3 destructive attacks also bombarded the monster. Rumble. 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 Bang. Bang. The sky shook and the earth shook. Destructive explosions sounded and energy shot in all directions. The 3 attacks bombarded the monster's body. The destructive attacks tore the monster apart. Even the pseudo-9th level demonic beast was attacked by the 9th heavenly layer martial saint at this moment. However, before the monster fell, Tian Qingzi and Yun Aotian were also hit by a pair of claws. Their protective shields disappeared, and they were thrown out. They spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Roar. At the last moment, the monster let out a miserable cry and disappeared quickly. When the monster fell, Shimen Wushuang also spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell down and appeared on the ground from the black hole. At this moment, the black hole also quickly disappeared. This is great. Shimen Wushuang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked coldly at the people on the ground. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Now, although he was injured, there was still a terrifying monster. This monster could casually kill any expert present. Moreover, at this moment, everyone present was injured, only Sima Qing was not injured. Even so, Sima Qing was still not the monster's match. In this situation, it was obvious that the final victor would be Shimen Wushuang. Ling Haoyan didn't have the strength to fight back at all, and the true essence in his body disappeared. Zhou Mingho had already fallen, and Tian Qingzi and Yun Aotian were also heavily injured. Shimen Wushuang, aren't you afraid of the wrath of heaven for using the Umbra Beast? Yun Aonan looked at the monster beside Shimen Wushuang and said indifferently. After he finished speaking, everyone looked at Yun Aotian. They did not expect Yun Aotian to actually recognize this nether beast. He had known the nether beast for a long time, but he didn't say anything and even injured everyone. He had evil intentions. You know the Umbra Beast? Not bad, but you're injured now. I'm the final victor. I'm the only one who can leave. Ling Haoyan, you're despicable. A faint smile appeared on Shimen Wushuang's face as he looked at Yun Aotian in surprise. Then, his gaze shifted to Ling Haoyan, and his eyes flashed with a sharp light. He was filled with killing intent. He hated Ling Haoyan to the bone. Chapter 717, Destruction Saber, 1. Shimen Wushuang walked towards Ling Haoyan step by step, his eyes filled with killing intent and hatred. Ling Haoyan watched as Shimen Wushuang walked over. His expression kept changing. He already knew that he had no chance. In his current situation, not to mention Shimen Wushuang, even an ordinary warrior could kill her. Roar. The other monster let out a loud roar, and a destructive attack shot towards Sima Qing. Because Sima Qing saw Shimen Wushuang walking towards Ling Haoyan, he threw an attack towards Shimen Wushuang. Naturally, the monster would not allow Sima Qing to attack Shimen Wushuang. A huge and terrifying claw clawed fiercely at Sima Qing, and a destructive aura spread out in the air. With a muffled sound, Sima Qing was smashed onto the ground. However, Shimen Wushuang was also hit by Sima Qing's attack. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body was thrown forward, almost falling to the ground. Kill him. When Shimen Wushuang saw Sima Qing sneak attack him, he was instantly enraged. At the same time, he glared fiercely at the monster. If it was any other demonic beast, the first thing it would do was to protect its master. However, this monster's Umbra Beast would not do that at all. Its intelligence was also very low. He could only vent his anger on Sima Qing. Brother Sima, be careful. This is an abyssal beast. It's best if you use fire or metal attacks. Yun Ao Tian looked at the current situation. Although he knew that only one of them could stay, he would not let go of any chance. If Sima Qing Mie fought the monster, the outcome would be beneficial to him. After all, as long as he did not die, he would still have a chance to reach the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. With a scream, Shimen Wushuang's attack landed on Ling Haotian. Ling Haotian no longer had the protection of the exquisite pagoda, nor did he have the slightest defense. He was struck by a 9th heaven martial saint like Shimen Wushuang and died in one blow. His entire body was beaten into smoke and vanished into thin air. Killing a martial artist who had no way to fight back, and with such a big move, it could be seen how deep Shimen Wushuang's hatred for Ling Haotian was. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions rang out as Sima Qing's true qi circulated to its limits, continuously bombarding the abyssal beast. Yun Aotan, Tian Qingzi, are you two not going to make a move and wait for death? Kill this Umbra beast first. Sima Qing shouted when he saw that Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi did not seem to want to make a move. Do it? Tian Qingzi nodded and looked at each other. His figure shot up, and the terrifying true essence and aura around his body soared. However, the target of their attacks was not to help Sima Qing, but to bombard Shimen Wushuang. Boom! Boom! The destructive attacks of the two men bombarded Shimen Wushuang without any warning. Shimen Wushuang was instantly shocked, and his eyes revealed a look of fear. At this moment, the Umbra beast was being held back by Sima Qing. He was at the side and was very far away from the Umbra beast. He knew that the Umbra beast would not help him. Facing the attacks of two experts of the same level, he could only use his strongest defense and attack. Bang! Boom! 3 attacks intersected, and 2 attacks collided. However, Tian Qingzi's other attack collided fiercely with Shimen Wushuang 1's body. With a muffled sound, Shimen Wushuang's body was thrown out and fell to the ground. Boom! With another explosion, Yun Ao Tian's attack struck down again. Without any suspense, the life of a 9th heavenly layer martial saint would also become very fragile under such circumstances. Roar! The Umbra beast let out a furious roar, and its huge body quickly disappeared. In the end, it completely disappeared from the world. Shimen Wushuang had fallen, and the Umbra beast had been destroyed. This was because the Umbra beast was Shimen Wushuang's summoned beast. As long as one party was injured or killed, the other party would also die. The air froze. Silence. Silence. 6 super experts. Ling Haotian, Shimen Wushuang, and Zhou Mingho had fallen. Yun Ao Tian was injured, Tian Qingzi was injured, but Sima Qing was not injured at all. The entire process had only taken a moment, but in that moment, 3 9th heavenly layer martial saints and 2 fake rank 9 abyssal beasts had fallen. Sima Qing, there's only the 3 of us now. Let's see who can leave this place. Yun Ao Tian said coldly, breaking the silence in the hall. He looked coldly at Sima Qing, then exchanged glances with Tian Qingzi and nodded. The true essence in his body was circulated to the extreme. In the hall, the aura of destruction was constantly emitted, filling the entire hall. For a moment, the air was filled with a strange and oppressive atmosphere. So the 2 of you have already joined forces? Not bad. The 2 of you are injured. Even if you join forces, you might not be able to kill me. Only one of you can leave this place. Even if you join forces, we will fight to the death later. Sima Qing looked at Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi and understood everything. He was shocked. Even he did not have any chance of winning when 2 9th heavenly layer peak martial saint experts joined forces. However, this sentence stirred up the discord in the hearts of the 2. They were not on good terms on the surface, and they both understood that they would fight to the death later. However, they did not say anything now and maintained a temporary alliance. However, when Sima Qing said it out loud, their expressions changed. Even if you die and I die later, you have to die first. I feel great watching you die. A smile gradually appeared on Yun Ao Tian's face, but this smile carried a hint of bitterness. He had dominated the world, had no sect, and was unrestrained. He had reached the peak of the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm, But now, he was going to be destroyed in this place. He knew that his chances of survival were only 1/3. His voice was extremely carefree, as if he was facing life and death calmly. "All right, Brother Yun, let's join forces and kill Sima Qing first. Later, we'll decide the victor in one move. If anyone tries to cheat, they will be struck by lightning. They will be plagued by inner demons and will never be able to advance their cultivation." When Tian Qingzi saw Yun Aotian's appearance, he was instantly filled with heroic spirit. The chances were very small now. Even if they killed Sima Qing later, the two of them would still have to fight. At this point he had already let go. Do it? The two of them did not speak anymore. Their figures flashed, and an attack that could destroy the heavens and earth blasted towards Sima Qing. Even if he was injured, the power of the two of them working together was extremely terrifying. Heaven End Wheel. Destruction Saber. 13 Swords of the Bright Moon. Instantly, the hall was completely destroyed. The three martial saints attacked without any hesitation. The divine martial profound heaven sword trembled even more violently, and destructive sword chi continuously spread out. The destructive aura in the air was getting thicker and thicker. Moreover, this dense aura had entered the bodies of the martial saints during the battle. Sima Qing and the other two were using all their might, not even bothering to block the destructive aura emitted by the divine martial profound heaven sword. Rumble! Rumble! Ah ah ah! Puff puff puff! 2 earth-shaking explosions sounded. The 3 super martial saints were thrown out. Screams rang out as the 3 of them spat out blood at the same time. In the end, the destructive trump card was unleashed. Space continued to tear apart, and the destructive tearing power directly tore the 3 of them apart. At the same time, the destructive aura of the divine martial black heavenly sword also corroded their bodies. Bang bang bang! With 3 muffled sounds, Sima Qing and the other 2 fell to the ground, their faces extremely pale. The expression on Sima Qing's face was the most unsightly. 2 experts of the same cultivation level were attacking him with all their might. Even though he had displayed a terrifying defense, he was still heavily injured. Not dying was already beyond Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi's imagination. They were extremely shocked. There was Ling Haoyan and Shimin Wushuang. Each of them was so terrifying. Yun Aotian, Tian Qingzi. Even if the 2 of you join forces, you can't kill me. In this world, the winner is king, and the rest is king. Let's see the power of my destruction saber. Sima Qing, who was originally injured to the point of being on the verge of death, slowly calmed down, and his pale face became rosy. When Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi saw Sima Qing 1's appearance, they were both subconsciously shocked. However, what made them feel despair was that Sima Qing's true qi was rapidly recovering. The destruction aura in the air was continuously entering his body. His injuries recovered in an instant, and his true essence also recovered in an instant. Moreover, his cultivation had reached an extreme. Watching Sima Qing stand up, Tian Qingzi and Yun Aotian were extremely shocked. Swoosh! Swoosh! When the 2 of them saw this situation, they forced themselves to stand up and retreated rapidly. Whoosh boom! Kacha in the main hall, Sima Qing's destructive aura tore through the air. His cultivation and true essence had already reached an extreme. Nebula break, destruction saber. Heaven and earth will be destroyed. Sima Qing did not care about Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi's movements at all. Instead, he focused on executing the destruction saber's attack. In an instant, a pitch-black saber light appeared in his hand. The saber light was not big, only 3 meters long. However, this saber beam was filled with destructive aura. The destructive aura in the air also continuously condensed. The air continuously tore apart, and space began to tear apart. Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi looked at the power of the destruction saber, and their eyes revealed despair. What made them even more afraid was that with the appearance of the destruction saber, the entire space began to freeze. They could not even move their fingers. They could only watch helplessly as the destruction fell. Phew! However, at this moment, a soft sound suddenly erupted from the corner of the hall that was originally filled with destructive qi. Even in such a destructive environment like the hall, this light sound was like a clap of thunder that reached the ears of the three experts. Because under such circumstances, the outcome was already set. With such a voice, there must be something unexpected happening. All of a sudden, the three of them looked toward the corner where the sound came from. Chapter 7:18, Nirvana Storm Break. 1. The destruction saber in Sima Qing's hand was getting stronger and stronger. The divine martial profound heavenly sword's destructive aura continued to waft out. Every time the divine martial profound heavenly sword spun, endless destructive aura would be emitted. However, when the three of them looked at the corner, their eyes revealed a shocked expression. A terrifying aura of will appeared in that quiet corner. Metal Dao intent. A destructive will wreaked havoc in the space, and the three of them could not help but exclaim. This was because the appearance of the will of the great path in this place was definitely not as simple as this. Moreover, this will was the will of gold that focused on destruction. Generally, will was an ownerless thing, but this will believed it. In other words, this will was controlled by an expert. He had always thought that there were only 6 supreme experts and a white-robed young man who had been destroyed. But now, the will of the great path of metal had appeared. It was obvious that there were other experts hiding here, but they had not discovered them. Would Dao intent? The will of the Dao of water. The will of the fire. The will of the earth. Just as the three of them cried out in surprise, for more kinds of will appeared. At this moment, Sima Qing, Yun Ao Tian, and Tian Qingzi's expressions changed drastically. 5 elements Dao intent. It was actually 5 elements Dao intent. The appearance of 5 kinds of Dao intent at the same time was the perfection of the 5 elements Dao intent. If there were experts with the perfection of the 5 elements Dao intent here, everyone would die. Any 9th firmament martial saint who could control a type of will could sweep away powerhouses of the same level. Moreover, it was the 5 elements' great perfection. It was completely beyond their imagination. When Sima Qing saw the appearance of the 5 elements Dao intent, he could no longer hold it in. With a loud roar, the violent destruction saber in his hand bombarded the corner. It was clearly a foregone conclusion, but how could he accept such a change at this time? The destruction saber carried a destructive aura. The saber beam slashed at the corner as if it ignored space. The air was split into 2, and the space was also split into 2. Tyrant blade art, second move. Solitary annihilation wind cloud break. A voice rang out. The voice was calm, but there was anger in it. When the voice sounded, a destructive saber beam appeared. It was also a saber beam, but this saber beam carried the pressure of a divine artifact and the aura of destruction. In the hull, the aura of the wind and clouds surged. It was originally a kind of silent space, but in this silence, the wind and clouds surged. The wind and clouds became strange. They followed the saber light and attacked the destruction saber. This saber light seemed to have flown over from the sky, and it seemed to be able to destroy the entire world. Boom! The 2 saber lights collided with each other as if they ignored the space. The hull began to tremble. The air distorted and began to tremble and tear. However, at that moment, the wind and cloud started to move strangely, and they pressed down on Sima Qing regardless of the distance. Gotcha! Boom! Wind cloud, wind indefinite, and cloud shapeless were originally the most ethereal existences, but now they were destroyed. The peak of the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm actually screamed in front of the weak Feng Yun. His body was also torn apart, and in the end he vanished into thin air. The destruction saber and nirvana wind cloud break disappeared at this moment. The voice from before sounded again, but this time, it was the sound of blood spurting out. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi's eyes were filled with shock and fear. He looked at the corner as if he had seen a ghost. In his eyes, the white-robed young man appeared again. This white-robed young man was the one who was ambushed by the 6 of them. He was only a martial emperor realm white-robed young man. He did not expect that he would still be intact after such a long time. The young man in white who appeared was naturally Li Lingtian. When he entered the 9 Divine Palace's teleportation channel, he felt a wave of unease. This kind of uneasiness was absolutely destructive. With his achievements, he could use his senses to resist unknown dangers many times. Moreover, he understood that the only thing that could threaten him and make him feel uneasy was an attack that could destroy the world. However, he did not expect that this threat was not brought by the passage, but by the outside world. When he appeared in the Divine Martial Hall, the first thing he felt was the existence of the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword. This powerful divine weapon was a threat, but it could not threaten his life. Moreover, this threat was not the main one. At the same time, he discovered 6 powerful destructive auras. These were 6 super heaven-defying experts. They were even more terrifying than the 9 martial saint super experts he had encountered outside the destruction cyclone. He immediately understood that this threat came from the 6 super experts. All kinds of defenses had already been cast, but they never expected that they would suffer a destructive blow the moment he appeared. The swirling light was created by Li Lingtian's powerful cultivation base. This gave him some time to prepare. The 5 elements Dao Will was activated and all sorts of heaven-defying defenses were unleashed to the extreme. The bombardment of 6 attacks completely dissipated him. This was the truth in the eyes of the 6 powerhouses. However, the truth was that Li Lingtian had already entered the air. Hidden in the air, the 5 elements will of the way could turn into any kind of will and hide after obtaining the 5 elements sacred body. The blood veil was also caused by his blood essence. It was impossible to hide from these heaven-defying experts without paying a certain price. Even though he had paid a terrible price, he had suffered a powerful attack and was seriously injured. However, being able to hide it from a few experts was also a relief. He had been hiding in the dark and watching the battle between the few powerhouses. He was shocked. The heaven-defying power of the 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm, as well as the sinister and cunning, had brought him new knowledge. The battle did not last long, but his injuries had stabilized. Seeing Sima Qing kill Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi, he had no choice but to make a move. In this place, if Sima Qing killed Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi, he would have to face Sima Qing. He used the second move of the Tyrant Saber art that he had never used before. Initially, the tyrannical saber art and his cultivation base could not shake Sima Qing at all. However, Sima Qing was not in the right state and was taken advantage of by Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood as he fell to the ground. For a moment, the atmosphere in the hall was extremely strange. Logically speaking, Li Lingtian had saved Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi by killing Sima Qujinji. However, only one of them could remain at this moment. Hence, there was still a life and death struggle. You didn't die? What a terrifying saber light. Li Lingtian's appearance was beyond their imagination. Even if 2 more 9th heaven inheritors came, they could still accept it. However, Li Lingtian was a martial emperor and had been vanquished by the 6 of them in one move. However, how could they not be shocked when it appeared again at this time? Naturally, I didn't die. In this world, the person who can kill me hasn't appeared yet. Do you think you can kill me with just your strength? Li Lingtian slowly stood up with a pale face. He reached out to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth and said indifferently. His calm appearance shocked Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi. How could a mere martial monarch realm expert be so calm? Moreover, the Su 9th heavenly layer martial saints had launched a sneak attack when the other party appeared. They were not prepared for it at the first moment when they were teleported out. Under such circumstances, the 6 9th heavenly layer martial saints had joined forces to launch a sneak attack. They should be able to destroy the other party. Moreover, this young man had indeed been destroyed into ashes, but he had appeared again at this time. Moreover, he was so powerful that he had already exceeded the scope of a martial supreme and a martial saint. Swoosh! As soon as Li Lingtian finished speaking, the air fluctuated and the terrifying destructive aura of the hall was stirred up. A burst of ice and fire aura appeared. Li Lingtian, a level 8 exotic beast of ice and fire, appeared. The exotic beast of ice and fire stood beside Li Lingtian and glared at Yun Aoyan and Tian Qingzi fiercely. At this moment, even if Li Lingtian was a martial supreme, Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi did not dare to make a move with a Tier 8 ice and fire exotic beast protecting him. Swoosh! There was another spatial fluctuation, and the silver-winged flying dragon appeared. The peak of level 8, level 5, was equivalent to the complete fifth firmament of the martial saint realm. Although he was still very weak in front of a ninth heavenly layer martial saint, he had already played a crucial role at this time. With two powerful demonic beasts guarding Li Lingtian, coupled with Li Lingtian's terror, the expressions on Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi's faces kept changing. After summoning the two demonic beasts, Li Lingtian tossed a pill into his mouth. The powerful medicinal pills quickly turned into true essence, constantly healing the injuries in his body. His face gradually became rosy. He stood up slowly and looked at Yun Aodan and Tian Qingzi coldly. At this moment, there was no time to wait. He could only leave after killing two ninth heavenly layer martial saints. Otherwise, he could only die here. Swoosh, swoosh. Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi also stood up, slowly mobilizing the true essence in their bodies. The martial monarch realm experts who were treated as ants in the past had now become the most terrifying opponents. You said before that only one person can leave this place. What would you do if I gave you two a chance to leave? Li Lingtian's heart raced as the terrifying 5 elements began to circulate throughout his body. The 5 elements' sacred body supported the 5 elements' will, and the space was instantly filled with the 5 elements' will. Even the divine martial black heavenly sword's destructive aura was shaken away. For a moment, the atmosphere in the hall was extremely strange. The terrifying power and powerful aura shocked the two martial saints. This power and aura had completely surpassed the martial emperor realm. Even an ordinary martial saint was far inferior to it. Moreover, this young man had also mastered the 5 elements Tao intent to the peak, and his power was extremely powerful. If he couldn't kill it in one strike, the consequences would be troublesome. This was because the 5 elements Tao intent could be hidden in any corner or in the air. However, Li Lingtian's words stunned Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi. Both of them can leave this place? How is that possible? Only one person can leave this place. After the two of them were shocked, they both exclaimed. He looked at Li Lingtian with a sharp gaze. A 1/3 chance of leaving was not as good as a 100% chance. If he really had the ability to leave, it would be a narrow escape. Chapter 719, Martial God Shadow, 1. In the Divine Martial Hall, it could be called the Divine Realm. The rules of this place could never be broken. The 9 heirs left one by one, but this time, 6 or 7 of them had gathered. It was impossible for all 6 or 7 heirs to leave. Only one inheritor could leave, so the battle was held here. Now, Li Lingtian had actually said that they could leave together. It was a joke. However, this joke was not funny at all. In the eyes of Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi, this white-robed young man was one of the inheritors. Otherwise, he would not have come here. However, she did not expect Li Lingtian to be not the inheritor. It was possible to call Li Lingtian an inheritor, but he was not the inheritor of the powerhouses in the Divine Martial Hall. Instead, he was the successor and reincarnation of the 9 Yang Saint Lord. The place where he inherited his legacy was not the Divine Martial Hall, but Hidden Dragon Island. Let me tell you, I am not an inheritor. Anyway, we've already reached this stage. Do you think that the AI will leave one person? If the two of you have the chance to leave, what do you want to do? Li Lingtian's face gradually broke into a smile. His smile was so casual that it made Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi feel uncomfortable. In this place and under such circumstances, he was still so calm and composed. It made them feel uncomfortable. He walked forward step by step and finally arrived in front of Yun Aotian and the other man. You're not the inheritor? Then how did you get here? If I can leave, I don't want this divine martial black heavenly sword. As long as I can leave safely, I'll just need an inheritance. I won't need the divine black heavenly sword anymore. Both of them were shocked when they heard that Li Lingtian was not the inheritor. However, there was no need to know so much now. Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi both said. They were no longer tempted by this divine martial black heaven sword. From the beginning to the end, they had no intention of fighting for the divine martial black heavenly sword. Instead, they wanted to leave the divine martial hall. With their heaven-defying inheritance, their talents and cultivation, they would become martial gods and become the supreme existences of the divine martial continent. Ha! Li Lingtian burst into laughter when he heard the two powerhouses' words. No matter what kind of expert he was, his life was still the most important. No matter how good the treasure was, how could he enjoy it if he didn't have the life to do so? However, before he could finish laughing, his expression turned into shock. At the same time, Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi's faces were also filled with shock. Boom! Rumble! In the hall, a series of explosions sounded again. The explosions were exactly the same as the last time Li Lingtian had entered. A swirling light appeared on the ground. The light emitted a terrifying and powerful pressure. This pressure was like the might of the heavens. The terrifying pressure was actually able to penetrate the light, which really shocked the three of them. A powerful destructive pressure filled the hall. In an instant, the expressions of the three changed drastically. They did not expect another inheritor to come. From the looks of it, this inheritor's cultivation was extremely terrifying. The light turned into nothingness in an instant, and a black-robed phantom appeared in their sights. At the same time, the phantom's body burst forth with a shocking pressure. Even though Li Lingtian had unleashed the heavenly demon domain, he was still firmly suppressed. Shadow! Shadow! When Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi saw this phantom, they immediately cried out in surprise, their eyes filled with despair. He looked extremely ugly, as if he had seen a ghost. His body also trembled continuously. It was obvious that he was afraid of the black-robed figure in front of him. Although Li Lingtian did not know who this person was, the terrifying pressure he felt made it difficult for him to move his fingers. Such a powerful pressure was definitely not something that a ninth heavenly layer martial saint could possess. This was because he had just experienced it. Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi were both ninth heaven martial saints. The other ninth heaven martial saints who had fallen were all extremely powerful. However, compared to the current pressure, the two were on a completely different level. The more she thought about it, the more afraid she became. Li Lingtian had already thought of many possibilities regarding the pressure and aura, as well as Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi's appearance. However, he dared not admit it, because such a super existence had already exceeded his imagination. Lord Shadow Martial God of the North Jin Kingdom, Yun Ao Tian said with a trembling voice. His face gradually turned pale. As he spoke, the corners of his mouth trembled continuously. His appearance was extremely ugly. He did not look like a ninth heavenly layer martial saint at all. Li Lingtian was also shocked by Yun Ao Tian's trembling voice. He was getting more and more afraid. He had to admit something he didn't want to admit. The black-robed figure in front of him was that extremely terrifying martial god expert. The martial god was a godlike existence. He possessed heaven-defying powerful divine arts and could destroy the world with a wave of his hand. Controlling the laws of heaven and earth, borrowing the power of heaven and earth, crushing any expert to death like an ant. In front of a first heaven martial god, a ninth heaven martial saint was just an ant. It was no wonder Yun Ao Tian and the other man were so afraid. An ant-like existence. An Ing said coldly. Li Lingtian's eyes swept across Li Lingtian and he felt a shiver run down his spine. His entire body seemed to have been frozen by the destructive cold air. The corners of his mouth kept trembling, and his eyes revealed a look of fear. The power of a martial god expert's gaze alone was enough to destroy his mind. Fortunately, this gaze was completely filled with disdain. It swept across and looked at Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi. With An Ying's cultivation base and status, he did not want to fight a mere martial supreme. If he did, it would be an insult to him. On the other hand, the ninth heavenly layer of the martial saint realm still had a little bit of attention. However, at this time, and Ing completely ignored the three of them and directly walked toward the divine martial black heavenly sword. The three of them let out a breath of cold air. At least they would not be attacked by Shadow for the time being. If Shadow really attacked, the three of them would not be able to survive. Divine Martial Profound Heaven Sword. The passageway to the Divine Martial Hall. You can kill yourselves. I don't want to do anything. And Ing walked up to the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword, and a terrifying and mysterious aura was emitted from it. However, this mysterious aura did not have any effect on Ing. And Ing completely ignored this destructive aura and looked at the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword with passion. He was a martial god expert, so he had no fear of this mysterious aura at all. However, after arriving in front of the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword, Shadow did not take it away. Instead, he spoke softly as if he was talking to himself. When Li Lingtian heard that, he was infuriated. However, he could only quickly suppress it. In the face of the war god, he was no better than an ant. If he was facing a martial saint, he still had hope. However, facing a martial god, he did not even have the will to resist. You want to die? Sensing Li Lingtian's anger, Ing turned to look at Li Lingtian. With a casual wave of his hand, a shadowy ray of light bombarded Li Lingtian. The speed of the light was extremely fast. It was not a distance of space at all. As he waved his hand, the destructive attack had already reached Li Lingtian. Moreover, the attack carried a sealing power. In front of this sealing power, no expert could move at all. The sound of blood spurting out rang out. Ing did not look at Li Lingtian anymore after unleashing his attack. A martial emperor powerhouse could be crushed to death countless times with a single finger in front of him. He believed that this attack could destroy a martial monarch realm expert. He turned around and continued to examine the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword. In his eyes, there was only this Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword. Bang! Li Lingtian's heart jolted. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he fell hard to the ground. His entire body felt like it was about to be destroyed and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. He was already seriously injured when he was ambushed by 6th-9th Heavenly Layer Martial Saints. Now that he was struck by the War God's shadow, no matter how powerful he was, he would at least lose a layer of skin if he didn't die. As he fell to the ground, Li Lingtian's mouth was bleeding profusely. The ice and fire monsters and silver-winged flying dragons were about to attack Shadow but were stopped by Li Lingtian. Going at this time was simply courting death. He sat cross-legged and began to regulate his breathing. He did not care about anything else. Because he couldn't shut it down even if he wanted to. He could only leave it to fate. Chi-chi, chi-chi, a series of soft sounds rang out as the mysterious destructive aura and the dark shadow's aura continuously collided. The two of them emitted a powerful collision. Although Ing was a martial god, the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword was an ancient Khanate treasure with the word Xiantian on it. The aura on it had fused with the aura of the Divine Martial Hall. It would not be easy to take it away and open the Divine Martial Hall. Those who came here had all received the inheritance and knew that the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword was the key to opening the Divine Martial Hall. As long as he could obtain the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword, the Divine Martial Hall would truly open, and people would be able to leave this place. Forbidden God Curse. Seeing that the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword was unmoved, Ing revealed an anxious expression. Although he was the strongest in this place, if he could not take the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword away, he would not be able to open the Divine Martial Hall and complete the mission. He couldn't leave the Divine Martial Hall either. A dignified martial god expert had a bright future ahead of him, so he naturally didn't want to die in this place. In the end, he used a powerful divine art. He cast a series of spells, and a blood-red light wheel appeared in his hand. The light wheel kept spinning along with the spells. A mysterious and terrifying aura of blood was emitted from the light wheel. The aura kept colliding with the mysterious aura of destruction. For a moment, there was no way to determine the winner. Activate. After a long time, sweat appeared on Shadow's forehead. It was obvious that he had no way to take the Divine Martial Black Heavenly Sword. Even if he wanted to take it away, he would not be able to see it like this. In the end, an Ing let out a soft shout and circulated all the vital essence in his body to the extreme. He grabbed at the divine martial black heavenly sword with one hand. His palm was covered in a blood-red halo, and he looked extremely terrifying. Chapter 720, Fighting the Martial God, 1, Tisk. The palm with the blood-red halo finally grabbed the divine martial black heavenly sword. A piercing sound was heard. All of a sudden, a destructive aura erupted in the hall. The destructive aura on the divine martial black heavenly sword continued to erupt, causing the hall to tremble. The space was being destroyed, and the divine martial black heavenly sword was trembling non-stop. As it trembled, it repelled the aura of the shadow. However, the divine martial black heavenly sword was now ownerless. Moreover, Shadow was the inheritor of the 9 great inheritors. He carried a mysterious aura on his body and had a certain resistance against the rejection of the divine martial black heavenly sword. Time slowly passed, and the divine martial profound heaven sword's trembling slowly weakened. Ha ha! And Ing laughed loudly when he saw that the divine martial black heavenly sword was about to be controlled. As long as he could obtain this divine martial profound heaven sword, coupled with his talent and cultivation, he would be able to roam the divine martial continent without any threat. However, at this moment, the expression on his face changed. He could not help but shift his gaze away from the divine black heavenly sword and look behind him. Li Lingtian had also recovered from his meditation as he looked at the floor on one side of the hall. Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi also looked at the ground in shock. A ray of light appeared. That ray of light emitted a powerful and terrifying aura, and there were traces of flames flickering. It looked extremely mysterious, and this situation made the 4 people present extremely surprised. Bang! With an explosion, the light exploded, and the destructive light scattered like stars. The space trembled. A girl in black stood on the ground behind the light. The girl's beautiful eyes looked around. Her snow-white skin and neck were like jade. She was dressed in black, her face was exquisite and perfect, and her body was emitting a cold aura. It gave people a feeling of being thousands of miles away. Its ethereal temperament and icy aura made people not dare to have the slightest blasphemy. Li Lingtian's heart trembled when he saw the girl. He did not expect to meet this woman in this place. This world was really not big. Tian Xen, that's right. He was the super genius of the Tian family from the divine continent that he met in the heavenly fire mountain range. He didn't expect to meet him again after such a long time. At the same time, Heaven Heart felt the destructive aura and the terrifying threat. Her beautiful face revealed a look of fear. He looked at an Ing and his heart trembled. Dark Shadow, the dark shadow of the northern Jin kingdom. Heaven Heart's voice was calm and cold, but one could feel the uneasiness and trembling in his voice. Even if she was a super genius of the Tian family of the divine prefecture, she still had no confidence in facing a martial god expert. She could only admit that she was unlucky to have landed in this place. This place was filled with supreme experts. Moreover, they were all existences that had obtained an inheritance. In addition, there was a martial god. She could only leave it to fate. His gaze slowly shifted to Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi. When he saw that both 9th heavenly layer martial saints were suppressed, he felt even more despair. Immediately, his gaze swept past Tian Qingzi and landed on Li Lingtian. When she saw Li Lingtian, her eyes revealed a hint of strangeness. However, when she realized Li Lingtian's condition, she felt even more uneasy. To her, Li Lingtian's strength was absolutely invincible. Now that he was in such a state, she had no confidence in leaving this place. You're here too. Tian Xen subconsciously shifted toward Li Lingtian. In this place, Li Lingtian could be considered to be acquainted. The others were all 9th firmament martial saints, and there was even a martial god powerhouse. They were all heaven-defying opponents except for Li Lingtian, who was a martial supreme and was someone she knew. Even if they were rivals now, at least she knew Li Lingtian. Furthermore, Li Lingtian did not deal with her last time. After arriving at Li Lingtian's side, he asked, Although his voice was still cold, his tone was not as cold as before. Yeah, you're here too? Li Lingtian nodded. Although Tian Xen was a beauty, he was not interested in beautiful women because he had plenty of beautiful women around him. None of them were inferior to Tian Xen. However, he was extremely shocked in his heart. In just a year, his heaven heart had actually reached the second sky of the Martial Saint realm. Moreover, he was at the peak of the second sky of the Martial Saint realm. His entire body was filled with a terrifying and powerful aura. From the 9th Heaven Martial Emperor realm to the 2nd Heaven Martial Saint realm, these three realms were definitely difficult to cross. He didn't expect Heaven Heart to break through so easily. With the addition of the Sky Screen Golden Flame, it would definitely be extremely terrifying. While he was shocked, Heaven Heart was also shocked. Back in the Heavenly Fire Mountain range, Li Lingtian was only at the 4th Firmament Martial Emperor realm. However, he was now at the peak of the 9th Firmament Martial Emperor realm. His cultivation speed was beyond her imagination. Rumble! Rumble! In the hall, the divine martial black heavenly sword began to tremble as it was grabbed. And Ying's expression turned grave as well. The divine martial black heavenly sword was beyond his imagination. It was not that simple. If he wanted to control the divine martial profound heavenly sword, he had to refine it. However, the divine martial profound heavenly sword was an ancient profound heavenly treasure, and it could be refined so easily. The divine martial profound heaven sword continued to emit a destructive aura. This aura was countless times stronger than before. Even shadow was corroded by the aura. Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi had already been thrown into the air and crashed into a corner. The divine martial black heavenly sword is not something you can control. Just give up, Li Lingtian shouted. As a super holy array master, he had seen countless treasures and could naturally tell the might of the divine martial black heaven sword. Even a martial god would find it difficult to control the divine martial black heavenly sword. As soon as he opened his mouth, everyone's eyes fell on him. Yun Aotian, Tian Qingzi, and Tian Xan were all looking at him. And Ying's cold gaze swept across Li Lingtian. His gaze was so solid that Li Lingtian's heart trembled. Die. And Ying was already extremely frustrated, but he was instantly enraged when he heard Li Lingtian's words. After a cold snort, he waved his hand and another destructive attack was launched. There was a hint of confusion and surprise in his eyes as he had already attacked Li Lingtian. He did not expect that a martial monarch realm expert would not die in front of his attack. Damn it, I don't care about you. Do you think you're a big shot? The 9 heavenly stars. Li Lingtian could not hold it in any longer when he saw Shadow launching another attack. Even if he died, he couldn't be so aggrieved. He had been plotted against and then attacked by the war god. Now, someone was attacking him. Did he really think he was easy to deal with? After saying that, he circulated all of his vital essence and the 99 5-colored spiritual pearls. An independent world appeared. Boom! The destructive martial god's attack fiercely struck the 9 heavenly stars. Bang! With a muffled sound, the 9 stars in the sky trembled, but the attack was blocked. Li Lingtian was almost killed when he was attacked by the shadows. Fortunately, he had the protection of the limitless feather coat and the powerful physique of the true dragon's body protection. But now, he had unleashed the 9 heavenly stars and the heavenly demon domain. The power was naturally powerful and heaven-defying. And Ying exclaimed in surprise when he saw Li Lingtian's 9 skies stars blocking his attack. He was a little careless when he did not manage to kill Li Lingtian in the beginning. Now that the power of his attack had increased significantly, he believed that he could definitely kill Li Lingtian. However, there were always things that exceeded expectations. Li Lingtian was a martial supreme, yet he managed to use such a magical divine ability to block the martial god's attack. 5 elements sacred body. Heavenly sword body. Flaming sacred body. Heaven extreme tyrant emperor saber, tyrant saber art. Second move, nirvana wind cloud break. Li Lingtian did not hesitate at all. Since the battle had already begun, he could not stop. He didn't have the slightest bit of confidence in fighting the war god, nor did he have the slightest chance. Since he was going to be killed, he had to teach the war god a lesson. While An Ing was still in shock, he had already used several powerful and heaven-defying physiques, and the true dragon body barrier was also activated. The 5 elements sacred body ate up all kinds of heaven-defying existences. With one hand and one body, the extreme overlord saber appeared in his hand. Suddenly, a destructive saber intent appeared in the hall. The terrifying saber intent carried a destructive aura. At the same time, the destructive aura in the air continuously fused into the saber intent. He was a reincarnation, so it was normal for him to fuse with the destruction chi. The destructive saber intent erupted, and the entire process only took an instant. The tyrannical saber art was displayed. Saber light flashed and slashed out fiercely. The space in the hall was split into 2 by this slash. It arrived in front of Shadow as if it ignored space. Shadow Heart. An Ing was infuriated when he saw Li Lingtian attacking him. However, he was shocked when he discovered Li Lingtian's various heaven-defying physiques. Any one of these physiques was enough to shake the entire divine martial continent. However, they did not expect Li Lingtian to possess all these physiques. Moreover, they were so heaven-defying. Even the martial god didn't dare to be careless. He pointed with one hand, and a ray of light appeared in the void. In his palm, a strange-shaped weapon slashed fiercely at Li Lingtian's saber radiance. This light figure was like a shadow. Boom! The 2 destructive attacks collided in an instant. The space was quiet for a moment, but after this short silence, there was endless destruction. The space was shattered, and the wind raged in the air, causing the air to distort. Yun Ao Tian, Tian Qingzi, and Tian Xen looked at Li Lingtian in shock. They did not expect Li Lingtian to be so heaven-defying and have the guts to fight the martial god. Just this boldness alone made them admire him. Heaven Heart's eyes revealed a strange look. No matter what, this young man could make people's blood boil. No matter what, he was always so domineering, so determined, so invincible, and so unyielding. He gave off the feeling of a god of war. Even when facing a martial saint or martial god, he never flinched or gave in. He always pressed forward. Chapter 721. The Real Expert. 1. Space was constantly distorted. The strong wind wreaked havoc, making the few super martial saints feel that destruction was eroding them. Yun Ao Tian and the other 2 felt a huge wave in their hearts when they saw Li Lingtian, a 9th firmament martial emperor, crossing 2 worlds to fight a martial god powerhouse. What was a powerhouse? This was a powerhouse. This was because this young man had the heart of an expert. Even if he was facing an existence that was more heaven-defying than him, he would not be afraid. Gotcha! With a crisp sound, the 2 attacks finally came to a conclusion. Li Lingtian's body was thrown into the air like a kite with a broken string. Just as he was about to crash into the wall of the hall, a strange look flashed across Tian Xian's eyes. With a wave of his hand, a colorful caltrip appeared in his sleeve and swept toward Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian was caught by calling, and his body was violently dragged along as he spat out a mouthful of blood. He quickly threw his body towards Tian Xen. When he saw Tian Xen save him, his eyes lit up. Dang dang dang. Unexpectedly, the 2 of them crashed into each other. Tian Xen stumbled back a few steps while Li Lingtian fell to the ground. Seeing Li Lingtian fall to the ground, Tian Xian's face revealed a trace of guilt. Damn it! At the same time, although Shadow was not thrown out, he also retreated 10 meters. To be forced back by a martial emperor powerhouse with a single strike was an insult and humiliation to a martial god powerhouse. At the same time, he was also shocked. He did not expect this martial emperor powerhouse to actually control a top-notch heaven-rank divine ability. It was even a saint-rank almighty divine ability. How could he endure the fact that a martial god was forced back in a head-on battle with a martial emperor? Yun Ao Tian and Tian Qingzi both let out a breath of cold air. He finally understood what it meant to be a monster. A 9th-level martial monarch realm expert had fought a martial god, yet he did not die. He had even repelled the martial god. Just this point alone was enough to shock the world. However, Things had gotten serious. The war god was enraged, and their deaths were brought forward. With the existence of the martial god in this place, they would never have the chance to leave. In other words, only Shadow could leave this place. They were just courting death. The two of them looked at each other. Even if he wanted to die, he would drag this martial god down with him. Only when he could leave in the end would he be a true expert. In her heart, she was already leaning toward Li Lingtian. Move aside. Li Lingtian stood up and looked at Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi standing in front of him. He could not understand why Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi were standing on his side. No matter what the reason was, to be able to stand in front of him at this time was also the identity of a comrade. To be able to stand in front of him, this friendship was also worthy of attention. Even if they became enemies in the future, at least they were comrades now. However, even if Yun Aotian and the other man were Ninth Firmament Martial Saints, it was impossible for them to be a match for the martial god. The difference between the two of them was like the difference between heaven and earth. Ordinary martial saints and martial gods were bound by the shackles and rules of the world. At this time, only a perverted person like him had a chance. He looked sharply at Yun Aotian and Tian Qingzi and shouted loudly. Both of them looked at Li Lingtian in confusion before they understood what was going on. Bang bang bang. Li Lingtian walked forward step by step and stood 100 meters away from an Ing with a glint in his eyes. With every step he took, the hall trembled. At the same time, the aura on his body also rose rapidly. The terrifying aura continuously tore through the air in the hall. War God! In front of me, even if you are a true god, I will send you to hell. Li Lingtian's aura had already reached its peak. This aura had completely exceeded the scope of a martial supreme. Even Yun Aotian and the Ninth Heavenly Layer Martial Saint could not help but be shocked when they saw this aura. This was because Li Lingtian's imposing manner was already in existence they looked up to. His hair was blown up by the twisting wind in the air, and his clothes rustled. At this moment, this not-so-majestic figure was completely as steady as an insurmountable mountain range that could block any danger. Heavenheart's heart couldn't help but tremble. This figure seemed to be looking at his invincible father. Illusion, reality? All of this, Tian Xian, Yun Aotian, and Tian Qingzi could no longer tell. It was only when Li Lingtian opened his mouth that he snapped out of it. His tone was domineering and heaven-defying. To be able to say such words in the face of a martial god expert was also heaven-defying. All right, I'll show you how heaven-defying the martial god is later. When the time comes, don't beg for mercy. And Ing watched Li Lingtian's transformation with a shocked expression on his face. His heart was filled with extreme emotions and he was determined to kill Li Lingtian. He did not want to see this young man defy the heavens in front of him. This young man was too heaven-defying. And Ing spoke slowly, and a heaven-defying aura burst out from his body. The aura and aura of a martial god were enough to destroy any expert below the martial saint realm. Don't drag me back. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness stirred as he turned around and flicked his finger. 3 pills were shot at Tian Xian and the other 2 before he turned to look at an Ing again. I've killed countless martial saints and martial emperors, but this is the first time I've met a martial god. I wonder what it feels like to kill a martial god. Are you willing to let me try? Li Lingtian's aura surged to the extreme as the space distorted and tore apart. However, the expression on his face gradually calmed down. In the end, he became extremely calm and relaxed. As he spoke to Shadow, his entire aura slowly changed. He became ethereal, mysterious, aloof, and unreachable. He was like an extraordinary super mighty figure. Boom! His voice sounded like he was asking Shadow, but there was no question in his tone. Instead, it was an insult and provocation. In the air, there was a slight fluctuation. This fluctuation made the few of them extremely surprised. This was because this fluctuation was not caused by their attacks, nor was it caused by their auras. It was because someone had come here. The 9 heirs were already here, and there were other people here. That would be strange. Indeed, someone had appeared in the air, and there was more than one person. In an instant, 6 peerless girls appeared. Every single one of them could stun the world. Every single one of them was peerless and comparable to a goddess. Even a goddess could not compare to them. However, such unparalleled girls had actually gathered together and appeared here at the same time. For a moment, in the face of the powerful and destructive aura, the appearance of a few girls made the atmosphere strange. However, after seeing the cultivation of the girls, they were all surprised. Out of the 6 girls, 4 of them were only at the 7th level of the Supreme Realm, 1 was at the 2nd level of the Martial Emperor Realm, and 1 was at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor Realm. It was indeed extremely strange for such a cultivation to appear in this place. However, Heavenheart's eyes were filled with shock as though he understood what was going on. At that moment, the 6 girls approached Li Lingtian. They looked extremely intimate and it was obvious that they were together. In the distorted space, the expressions of the 6 girls became solemn. They were Tang Qingyue and the others. The moment he received Li Lingtian's summon, he knew that he had encountered a heaven-defying opponent. After coming out, he was even more shocked. He did not expect that a martial god expert would really appear in this place. A legendary godlike figure had appeared. Husband, is this it? Shanme looked at An Ing and pointed at him with her jade-like finger. Even in this situation, she was still peerless and charming. Instantly, it almost made Yun Ao Tian and the others stagger. A girl actually ignored the martial god like this. What kind of people were these? At that moment, everyone understood that the girls had a close relationship with Li Lingtian. Hey, be careful. Let's see how capable this guy is. Li Lingtian nodded in agreement. Big brother Lingtian, where are they? Xianyuan Yinging looked at the people behind Li Lingtian and asked in confusion. Her delicate appearance could make all the men in the world go crazy. Even Heavenheart felt a little envious when he saw Xianyuan Yinging, Tang Zimeng, and Tang Qingyue. In terms of beauty, she could not compare to Xianyuan Yinging, but she was on par with Tang Qingyue and the others. However, Tang Qingyue and the others had become Li Lingtian's wives. They exuded a mature aura that she would never possess. Ignore them for now. Let's kill this one first. Li Lingtian did not turn his head. Instead, he kept his eyes fixed on An Ing. The aura around his body was swirling and the space around him was trembling. The heavenly demon region, the true dragon body protection, the heaven and earth reincarnation art, these heaven-defying cultivation techniques had already started to circulate. Damn it! An Ing kept his eyes on Li Lingtian and the others. It was as if they were performing an opera, and he did not take them seriously at all. Moreover, from his tone, it was as if he was trash. He did not know how Li Lingtian managed to bring so many people with him. However, these people were only at the Supreme or Martial Emperor level and could be easily killed. However, Heavenheart and the other 2 were extremely excited. Li Lingtian must have possessed some heaven-defying treasure since he was able to bring so many people with him. If Li Lingtian were to emerge victorious and lead them out, there would naturally be no need for a great battle. Rumble! And Ying's aura had reached its peak. This aura was many times stronger than Li Lingtian's. The entire space of the hall was completely dominated by the Shadow Ruler. He dominated this space. Everyone found it hard to move their fingers, and their eyes were filled with fear. Gradually, his eyes turned into despair. No matter how powerful Li Lingtian was, he was at the mercy of such an overwhelming pressure. Naturally, he had no chance now. Right now, it would be difficult for him to even move, let alone defeat Shadow. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.